Coach, just your thoughts on UCLA. It's a very good ball club you guys will be facing.
They're a dangerous team, very explosive. They're Kyle Anderson is a mismatch nightmare. Shabazz Muhammad obviously is quite a player, very, very talented. 3 out of 4 losses, a loss at home to USC. They're just waiting to go get somebody. That's how we feel. So we know that it's a dangerous team to begin with, but one that is ready to go out and play some basketball. So we have a serious challenge ahead of us come Thursday night.
Coach, how's the mood of your team considering the win, and have they forgotten everything that happened before and are sort of moving forward now?
I'm probably cautiously optimistic. We know we were 4-0 at one point, and the next thing we know, we look up and it's not the case anymore. We're 500, so I think cautiously optimistic in a good way.
How would you summarize or explain the first half of conference play for you guys?
Inconsistent is what I would say. Inconsistent play. Good defensively, poor defensively. At times showed life offensively, but other times didn't. We just were inconsistent in the first half, I thought.
How do you remedy that?
Hopefully it's remedied, but we'll see. We're going to go off. I think we played good defense against Arizona, didn't put the ball in the basket, turned it over too much. And against Arizona State, played better offensively, but didn't play as good defensively. So we have to put the two together. If and when we put the two together, we'll be a much better team and a much more consistent team.
Lorenzo, when you went back and watched the Arizona State game, were the defensive problems you felt were there after the game, were they as evident when you watched the film?
Yes, they were, and a little bit more. Yeah.
What exactly stood out?
You know, we always say that teams practice too, so you're not going to shut anyone out. But there are many defensive possessions that you feel you can control. There's a certain way that we're going to play against a particular team, which is called the scouting report, and we have to execute that scout. And there's probably 20, 30 points where we did not execute the scout. That's a problem. You're in the open court with Jaheed Carson. He gives you an in and out going 100 miles an hour, gets to the rim, you're right there, you almost block it. Okay, he's pretty good. But when there are things that we can control, and because we either weren't alert or executed the wrong way, that's unacceptable. And those were the things that were very evident on the film.
Do you think you guys can repeat that offensive effort?
Depends on the team that we're playing. Many of the teams in this conference are very deliberate. Now, if you're talking about the point total, that's one thing. If you're talking about efficiency, hopefully we can. It can still be a low-scoring game, but yet we can be offensively efficient. And I think we have been efficient offensively at times. We've not scored that many points, but we've been offensively efficient. It's just it hasn't been on a consistent basis. But as far as getting 96 points, I don't know.
Then, like, is the dream or is the vision to be that efficient as you were offensively on Saturday?
Yes.
And play the defense that you did.
There we go. That's back to what I was talking about being consistent. If we could do that, then we'd be really pleased with the rest of our season.
Have you seen that? Have you seen signs to where that you can merge those two things together?
Yes. Yeah, and they should feed off the other. You know, if we're really playing Husky basketball on the defensive end, the offensive end should follow suit. We've been efficient offensively in other games, but we probably had the best offensive flow that we've had all year. And, you know, we shot 54%, I believe, at Wazoo. But it wasn't like we shot 68% in this game, and you left the game saying, boy, the Huskies couldn't miss. They were on fire. It wasn't that type of game. And we only turned it over They only turned it over 12 times. So it wasn't like it was 25 turnovers and we were just out running, but yet we scored 26 points. I thought we scored points in the half court. I thought we scored points in transition. We offensive rebounded the basketball. We just did things in a variety of ways. That's why I thought we had a very good flow.
There were signs that Arizona State might let you play a little bit that way. You know, they've changed this year. UCLA's teams under Coach Allen, known for their defense, but they have so much talent that would seem like they'd rather run, and there are times you play them when they want to run. Do you ever read on what style they want to do?
Well, UCLA is not as deliberate as they've been. There are other years, I'll never forget, we played them at their place when Russell Westbrook and Collison and those guys were there, and they went, it was about a 3-minute stretch where for whatever reason they didn't run offense, they just played, and wow. I mean, it was, you felt that athleticism just coming at you. It was unbelievable. And this year, I think they play more like that than they have in the past.
Then is the whole idea of imposing your will on a team, is that like a misnomer? Like, can you just go out and say, we're going to run, and that's how we play, and then we're going to make the game up-tempo?
I think if that is your philosophy, you're going to run more than you're not going to run. But again, if you're going to run all the time, I think you have to have the superior talent. If you don't have the superior talent, you can't impose your will on anyone. It's much easier to impose your will on someone to slow the game down than it is to speed it up. Now, you could go to the extreme and speed it up, and you're giving up layups just so you can go the other way, and you're gambling and you're pressing the whole time, and you don't have the depth to do that, or the personnel. I guess it's one and the same, so to speak. But if you don't have that, it'll be up-tempo. You're just not going to get all the points. You know, I think if you want to be up-tempo and you're going to impose your will, you have to have the talent and the depth to be able to do it.
Coach, people started to sort of recognize how well CJ was playing. Can you talk about his first half and where he goes from here? Can he get back to that level of scoring 20 a game and leading this team in offense?
I thought he had a fantastic first half. He had some big games for us. When you look at the big picture, the whole body of work, there were games when he didn't score 20, 25 points. They did a good job of limiting his touches, but I think that could be said for every player in this conference. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. But I think he did really well. He was second in blocks in our team. He rebounded the ball well. In the second half, I just see him maybe adjusting to the scout on him. Like we say, freshmen do quite often. They start out in non-conference and do really well, and then you get to league. Teams have scouted you. Now they take away your strengths. And I think in CJ's case, it was done a couple of times last year, but I don't know if he's felt that in college like he has this year in conference with teams. I mean, really are holding him and grabbing him, and everywhere he goes, there's another guy there. I think he'll adjust to that, and second half have even more games where he's scoring more points.
Can you point to anything that has sparked Sean Kemp to play the way he has over the last 3 games?
I think Sean would have been playing like this earlier if it were not for being injured. Remember, he was injured in the beginning of the year and couldn't play our first 7 or 8 ball games, and the nature of his injury permitted him, didn't allow him to practice at all for a while. So he may have gone a month where he didn't do anything with basketball out there, maybe shoot free throws. Man, that's a setback right there. So I think that set him back, and we were excited. You know, those of you who heard me talk in the preseason, how we felt Sean Kemp would be improved and how we missed his scoring. You know, people were looking like his scoring. He averaged 2 points a game, 3 points a game last year. But we saw what he was doing. We saw what he did on our foreign tour. We saw what he was doing in the preseason, and we knew what he was capable of doing. And then he gets hurt. Wow, that's something that we were missing. So now he's playing. He's in the starting lineup. Now I believe he's playing with more confidence. And long-winded answer to just say he's doing now what we thought he could do. He just had a setback because he was hurt.
What do you think he learned from chasing Gilling, and what does he have to do better against?
That he has to
perimeter
get his
bigs?
hand up earlier.
He failed the Kupsik's test there.
That's a good one. You know, actually, Gillen hit 6 threes. I think only 2 of those were with Sean. Only 2 of those were on Sean. But, you know, you have to learn. And I said this last night on my radio show. John Brockman, when he came with us initially, they had always told John, big man, stay near the basket, protect the basket. And he had never really defended on the perimeter because he was always around the hoop. So he had to get out and deny and all that and switch on screens, and now he's with a guard. And it took him a couple of years to get it. Sean's been the same way. So we're asking him to do it in a week, guard someone on the perimeter. And we thought about it. I thought about not starting him in the Arizona game because we may have to change and not start him in the Arizona State game because of Gillen and the matchup. But we decided, no, we're going to have to, it's not football. He doesn't play defense and leave the field. He gets to play offense too, and they have to guard him. So let's see what the trade-off will be. And that's kind of how we gambled and what we went with, and he made it through. I thought he passed the test.
Was it it's kind of a chicken and egg thing, but did you start him to get him confident, or was he showing enough where he showed he demanded more?
One of the decisions I think you make as coaches is to decide if someone gets 30 minutes a game, every game. This is when someone's really not stepping up, because one guy gets 10 minutes, another guy gets 10 minutes, and then the next game a guy gets 15, the other one gets 5, and neither one is really stepping up. You got to make a decision sometimes. So which guy is going to improve the most and benefit the team by playing more? And we felt with Sean that he has a lot of potential. We need to throw him in there and see what he does, because if he begins to play with confidence and figures it out, then he could be a big, big piece in what we're trying to do. So that's why we went with him. We thought he had the most room for improvement.
He hit a face-up 16-footer the other night. Does he have the shot to go out essentially to the three-point line eventually?
I wouldn't say, eventually, yes. Yeah. Right now, I wouldn't say on a consistent basis he would knock threes down, but 17 and in, he's a fine shooter. As a sophomore, it's something that I think he could develop in years to come.
Back to when you said about the scout and not following it. In general, how much do you actually lock down into a scouting report type of practice? Is that the day before thing? And after Saturday's game, what did you do?
So we play Thursday. Today will be the first day we will talk about UCLA as a team. We may make reference to them, may have made reference yesterday to them, but we're not sitting down honing in on. Today is the first day. Tomorrow we'll go over it again and then shoot around Thursday. If we play Thursday, Saturday, well then Friday you get 1 day to prepare. And then the Saturday shoot around if it's not an 11 or 12 o'clock game.
If you had a team with 3 freshmen, do you think the biggest challenge would just be getting everybody on the same page defensively?
Yes, no question. And winning on the road, because we've had 3 freshmen like that in the past. In 2007, I remember what it was like. Defense is something that boys learned. There have been, I think I've said it before, maybe 2 guys since we've been here in 11 years that came ready to play on the defensive end. They didn't have to learn a whole lot. They had to learn our system, but they understood conceptually what we were doing. Most freshmen are playing zone defense in high school, or they had to protect themselves and not get in foul trouble. Or if they got in foul trouble, they wouldn't score. The team would never score the whole season. So they have been used to playing defense like that. Now they get to college, and not only do you have to learn that system and you have to play hard every possession, but you're playing against some players that are pretty good that will expose you if you don't do it. So I think that's tough when you have that many freshmen on a defensive end.
And
But they've done a fine job.
And then what, those two guys were who? Again, two guys who play defense.
Bobby Jones was one, and the second one wasn't Terrence Ross, wasn't Quincy Pondexter. I always have my two. I forget who the other one was,
Okay.
but I know Bobby. I remember Bobby sticks out.
And what Holland is doing.
Justin Holiday.
Holiday?
Yes.
And what,
You said holla, and it reminded me.
Got
See?
you.
Yeah. Teamwork.
oh, really?
Yeah, huh.
You know, what Holland is doing there, though, it just seems that it is kind of amazing, but that's kind of what college basketball is now. I mean, that's what Calipari is doing now.
And that's why it was amazing to me what Coach Calipari did with the Kentucky team with those freshmen now. The one, Anthony Davis, he doesn't need to learn defense. Just, he's pretty good. But to get those guys to guard like they guarded, it's pretty impressive because that's hard to do with young players.
Are you interested to going back kind of home and seeing what they've done to the place?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it looks like, the improvements. For so long, again, as a high schooler going up there into Pauley Pavilion, looking at it, hoping John Wooden was just hanging out in the gym somewhere, seeing it, and then now seeing what it's going to look like. Kind of looking forward to it.
When you go Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, where do you sneak in the mandatory day off the next week?
It will be Monday of next week.
So after the SC game, then?
Yeah.
You'll charter back that night and take the next day off?
Late that night. Take this day off from practice, not from class or work.
Have you differentiated that to everyone?
We try to make that clear, yes.
Anything else here? Chris, do you have anything from the teleconference?
No, I'm good, thanks.
All right.